There are two ways to make any mistake. What are those, and which is better? That's our question for today. Hi, I'm Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com, and I want to ask you, how do you tend to make mistakes? Do you make them in action, or do you make them in inaction? Now, what I mean by that is, when you make a mistake, is it because you did the wrong thing, or is it that you didn't do the thing you were supposed to do? They're two different things. In the classical view of Christianity, they talk about sins of commission and sins of omission. Commission is when you do something you weren't supposed to do. Omission is when you don't do something you were supposed to do. So, how how do you make mistakes? Are you someone that sits around and then, in retrospect, thinks, man, I should have done that? Or are you the person that goes out like a bull in a china shop and you just make mistakes? And you just think, man, I wish I hadn't done that. Let me suggest something to you. Generally speaking, now there are exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, I think it's better to make mistakes in action while you're doing something than to make the mistake of not doing anything. So let me give you an example. For years and years, I knew I was supposed to be doing what I'm doing right now. Knew it. I didn't know the exact details, but I was waiting for the right time. Have you heard that? Or I was making sure I heard right from God. The thing is, I knew what I was supposed to do. I knew it. And yet, I was still waiting. Now, some of that was right. It was God ordained. I couldn't write the book about Twitter before Twitter existed. I couldn't write about podcasting before it existed. I couldn't write about serving until I'd served and served and served. But there was a piece where I was governed only by fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of not accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish. The fear of messing up, the fear of somehow screwing up everything so badly that God couldn't fix it. Did you hear that? Screwing up everything so badly that God couldn't fix it. Is there such a thing? I mean, seriously, can can you mess up something so badly that God can't fix it? I'm not sure you can. Now, you can mess up something and God chooses not to fix it. But I don't think you can mess it up so badly that He can't. So, as you're making your decisions, there should be a level of freedom there to know that I can't mess this up so badly that God can't fix it. I can't change things so horribly that they can't be redeemed. You see, that's a great idea in Scripture, redemption. We really only use that word outside of the church in one context in our culture, redeeming coupons. But redemption is so much fuller in the sense of the Bible. It is taking something bad and turning it upside down and building upon it so that it's not only this level of good canceling out the bad, it's so much more good. Think about the crucifixion as the perfect example. I was talking to a friend of mine this past week and I said, imagine that the enemy has thought about his idea of having Jesus killed versus the results of that. He's got to kick himself literally every day thinking what a huge mistake it was to have Jesus killed. That was such a horrible, evil thing. And it's brought about such remarkable good. 10 million fold more than the evil that it was. And that's the kind of redemption I'm talking about. You will not be perfect. I'm sorry, you won't. You won't do everything right. You won't create perfect products. You won't inspire billions of people with no one hating you. You just won't. But if you trust that God can fix your mistakes, if you trust that He can redeem them, turning the bad things into good, then I think that you'll find that you have a lot more freedom to go out and make mistakes. Not that you're trying to, not that when you hear something good from the Lord, you run the other way. No, not like that. But as you're really, really trying hard to do what you're supposed to do, you mess up. You zig when you should have zagged. You thought you were hearing to go this way, and you go that way, only in fact you were supposed to go that way. Those are the kinds of mistakes that I think that you should be making, as opposed to, I'm sitting here on my couch, waiting to hear. When am I going to hear? What should I do? I don't know. I'm just going to wait. There's a point to waiting, and sometimes it's right. But make sure that it's not a cop-out. Make sure that you're not waiting for waiting's sake. Make sure that you're in fact doing what you're supposed to be doing. Making mistakes in action as opposed to making mistakes in inaction. And that is how we go out and change eternity. Until next time, I'm Paul Allen Clifford.